The locker room echoed with cruel laughter, a sound that carved itself into Grant's 16-year-old heart like a blade. "Faggot," they sneered, and at the center of it was Ethan, his best friend, his straight friend, whose mocking grin burned worse than the word itself. Grant ran, tears blurring the world, vowing never to let Ethan see him break again. Grant Larson stood in the middle of a bustling Seattle cafe, the hum of conversation and the clink of coffee cups fading as he stared at the man across the room. Ethan Caldwell, now 25, leaned against the counter, his blonde hair catching the morning light, his broad shoulders filling out a gray sweater with effortless charm. He was still the golden boy from Lincoln High, the one who'd once been Grant's closest confidant, until that day in the locker room when Ethan's laughter had shattered their friendship. Grant's pulse quickened. He hadn't seen Ethan since graduation, where he'd left Tacoma behind, hoping distance would bury the pain. Now, in this crowded cafe, the past rushed back like a tidal wave. He adjusted his navy blazer, smoothing it over his white t-shirt, and considered bolting. But Ethan's hazel eyes locked onto his, and a slow, disarming smile spread across his face. "Grant," Ethan's voice was warm, tentative, as he crossed the room. "Grant Larson, is it you?" Grant froze, his green eyes narrowing. "Ethan," he said, his tone clipped, guarded. He wasn't the scrawny kid anymore, the one who'd hidden his truth behind baggy hoodies and a forced smile. Years in Seattle had sculpted him, physically, emotionally, into someone confident, someone who owned his identity as a gay man. But Ethan's presence threatened to unravel that. "You look incredible," Ethan said, his gaze lingering a beat too long. "How have you been?" Grant forced a smile, his mind screaming, "Why are you here? Why now?" "Fine," he replied. "Just grabbing coffee before work." Ethan's smile faltered, but he pressed on. "I just moved here. Tech job downtown. I was hoping I'd run into you." The words hit Grant like a punch. Hoping? After what Ethan had done, the memory flashed, Ethan standing with the jocks, laughing as Grant's secret was weaponized against him. Grant had come out to Ethan in confidence, only for Ethan to betray him. The sting was still raw, even 9 years later. "Great," Grant said, his voice tight. "Welcome to Seattle." He turned to leave, but Ethan grabbed his arm gently. "Wait. Can we talk? Please." Ethan's eyes were pleading, a vulnerability Grant didn't recognize. Against his better judgment, he nodded. They sat at a corner table, the cafe's warmth a stark contrast to the chill between them. Ethan leaned forward, his hands fidgeting. "I owe you an apology, Grant." "For high school?" "For everything." Grant's jaw tightened. "You mean for laughing when they called me that word? For standing there while I ran out crying?" Ethan winced, his face paling. "I was a coward. I didn't know how to handle it. I was scared of what it meant, of how I felt." "Save it," Grant cut him off. "I don't need your excuses." He stood, his chair scraping the floor. "I've moved on." But as he walked away, Ethan's voice followed, soft but clear. "I haven't." Grant spent the next week trying to forget Ethan's words. He threw himself into his work as a graphic designer, sketching vibrant logos for a local nonprofit. His life in Seattle was good, friends who celebrated him, a community where he belonged. Yet Ethan's face haunted him, those hazel eyes carrying a weight Grant couldn't decipher. One evening, As Grant walked through Pike Place Market, the scent of fresh flowers and roasted coffee filling the air. He saw Ethan again. He was at a stall, buying a bouquet of sunflowers, his smile as bright as the blooms. Grant's heart twisted. He wanted to hate Ethan, but something in that smile, genuine, unguarded, stirred a memory of their childhood, of late-night talks and shared dreams. Ethan spotted him and waved, jogging over. "Hey, you stalking me now?" he teased, his grin boyish. Grant rolled his eyes but couldn't suppress a smirk. "You wish." They walked together, an uneasy truce forming. Ethan talked about his job at a tech startup, his move to Seattle to escape the monotony of Tacoma. Grant listened, guarded but curious. Ethan seemed different, less cocky, more introspective. When they reached the waterfront, the sun setting over Puget Sound, Ethan stopped. "I meant what I said at the cafe," he began, his voice low. "I've thought about you a lot over the years. About what I did. I was an idiot. Grant. I didn't understand myself back then." Grant crossed his arms, the sea breeze ruffling his dark hair. "What's that supposed to mean?" Ethan hesitated, then met Grant's gaze. "I was confused. About you. About how I felt about you." Grant's breath caught. He wanted to dismiss it, to call a lie, but Ethan's eyes held a raw honesty that pinned him in place. "You're straight," Grant said, almost accusingly. "You dated half the cheerleading squad." Ethan laughed, a bitter edge to it. "Yeah, I tried to be that guy, but never felt right. Not like when I was with you." The words hung between them, heavy with implication. Grant's mind reeled. Was Ethan saying what he thought he was? He turned away, staring at the water, his heart a battlefield of anger and longing. "I don't trust you," Grant said finally. "Not after what you did." "I know," Ethan replied softly. "But I'm not that guy anymore. Let me prove it." Over the next few weeks, Ethan was relentless, not pushy, but persistent. He showed up at Grant's favorite bookstore, accidentally bumping into him while holding a copy of Grant's favorite novel. He texted Grant memes that made him laugh despite himself. Slowly, Grant's walls began to crack. One rainy Saturday, Ethan invited Grant to a local art gallery. "No pressure," he'd said. "Just art and maybe some bad wine." Grant agreed, telling himself it was just curiosity. The gallery was alive with color, paintings bursting with emotion. Grant felt at home, his designer's eye drinking in the details. Ethan, surprisingly, kept up, asking thoughtful questions about the art. As they stood before a vibrant abstract piece, Ethan's shoulder brushed Grant's, and neither pulled away. "You're different," Grant admitted later, over glasses of cheap Merlot. "I don't get it." Ethan's smile was soft, almost shy. "I spent years figuring myself out. Therapy, travel, a lot of hard truths. I'm not hiding anymore." Grant studied him, searching for the lie. But all he saw was sincerity. "So, what are you saying? You're gay?" Ethan said simply, his voice steady. "And I've been in love with you since we were kids. I just didn't know how to say it." Grant's heart stopped. He wanted to believe it, to fall into the warmth of Ethan's words. But fear held him back. "You hurt me, Ethan. Badly." "I know," Ethan whispered. "And I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you if you let me." That night, as rain pattered against Grant's apartment window, he lay awake, Ethan's confession echoing in his mind. Could he forgive? Could he love the boy who'd broken him? Autumn arrived, painting Seattle in shades of gold and crimson. Grant and Ethan fell into a rhythm: coffee dates, walks through the park, late-night talks that felt like slipping back into their old selves. But every touch, every lingering glance, carried a question. Could Grant let go of the past? One evening, at a rooftop bar overlooking the city, Ethan reached for Grant's hand. His touch was warm, grounding. "I love you," Ethan said, his voice barely audible over the music. "I've always loved you." Grant's breath hitched. He wanted to say it back, to let the words spill out, but the memory of that locker room held him back. "Ethan, You don't have to say anything," Ethan interrupted, his thumb brushing Grant's knuckles. "Just let me show you." They danced, bodies close, the city lights blurring around them. Grant felt the weight of his anger slipping away, replaced by something softer, something dangerous. When Ethan leaned in, his lips brushing Grant's in a tentative kiss, Grant didn't pull away. It was soft, electric, a promise of something new. But the next day, doubt crept in. Grant's friends warned him. Ethan had hurt him before. What if he did it again? At a group dinner, Grant's best friend, Marcus, pulled him aside. "You sure about this guy? People don't change that much." Grant didn't have an answer. He wanted to trust Ethan, but the scars ran deep. The tension came to a head at a charity gala Grant had design posters for. Ethan attended, looking devastatingly handsome in a tailored suit. They mingled, laughed, but Grant felt the weight of eyes on them, whispers, judgments. When a drunk guest made a snide comment about the gay couple, Grant froze, the old shame flooding back. Outside, under the stars, Grant snapped. "This is too much. Ethan, I can't keep pretending it's all okay. You broke me back then. You don't get to just fix it with 'I love you.'" Ethan's face crumpled. "I'm not trying to fix it. I'm trying to love you. To be better. But if you can't forgive me, I'll walk away. I won't hurt you again." Grant's chest ached. He wanted to scream, to cry, to pull Ethan close and never let go. Instead, he turned and walked away, the city swallowing his footsteps. Days passed in silence. Grant threw himself into work, but every sketch, every color reminded him of Ethan, the way he'd smiled at the gallery, the warmth of his hand. He missed him, fiercely, painfully. But could he risk his heart again? One crisp morning, Grant found a letter slipped under his apartment door. Ethan's handwriting, neat and familiar, stared back at him. "Grant, I've said I love you 100 times, but I realize now it's not enough. Love isn't just words, it's action. It's time. It's showing up. I failed you once, and I'll never forgive myself for it. But I'm here, every day, ready to prove I'm not that scared kid anymore. If you're ready, I'll be at our spot by the waterfront tonight. If not, I'll respect that. Forever yours, Ethan." Grant's hands trembled as he read. He thought of the boy who'd laughed, the man who'd bared his soul. Love wasn't erasing the past. It was building something new despite it. That evening, Grant walked to the waterfront, the autumn leaves crunching under his boots. Ethan stood there, sunflowers in hand, his face a mix of hope and fear. Grant stopped a foot away, his heart pounding. "I don't know if I can forget," Grant said, his voice breaking. "But I want to try." I love you, Ethan. I always have. Ethan's eyes shone with tears as he closed the distance, pulling Grant into a fierce embrace. The sun set over Puget Sound, painting the sky in hues of hope. They stood there, two men who'd hurt and healed, ready to write a new chapter, not perfect, but real. In that moment, Grant understood love wasn't about erasing pain. It was about choosing to move forward, together, scars and all. And as Ethan whispered, "I love you," against his hair, Grant knew they'd make it because love, when fought for, was stronger than any wound.